Okay, now for the wine of the week. Again, this is something I tried earlier on. I actually had Dan Shea from Aotearoa Fine Wine, Aotearoa Wine come through and tried the range with me, and this one blew me away. And the reason why I picked this is because they not only use organic practices in their vineyard, but they go a little bit further to the point where they're looking at a new level of things. I'm not going to go into too much detail with it, but yeah, the wine is made organically. It's from the Hawke's Bay as well. It's free or the poorer vintages, so they still have a few bottles of this kicking around. I shouldn't really be promoting this on the podcast because I actually want it for the wine list at Lionel's, but the wine is too good to not. It is picture perfect Hawke's Bay Syrah from a great vintage. So it's the Smith and Sheth Crew Here Syrah 2021. Now, Here is basically the Hawke's Bay. So this is their Hawke's Bay blend. They do have one that sits above it, which they call Omahu, and that is, I had previous vintage, stunning. Very, very complex and almost austere from memory. The Here, however, the 21 is generous and inviting, enticing, and super complex. So the colour, super deep, dark ruby with almost that purple highlights to it. The nose, again, as I said, complexity is something that stood out with us. It was just like pops of different things all the time, blackberry, black cherry, black plum, it's all dark fruits, dark florals, your violets and things like this. Then you also got these spice notes, that pepper, as well as sort of those baking spices came through, and just all round delicious smelling wine. And it was, intoxicating, wanting to keep smelling this wine because it was so good. The palate, rich and balanced, and again, had those layers of complexity. You started with that ripe fruit that just, just instant appeal. Then it sort of, you get that sort of acidity kicking in, and just very light acidity though, but brings carries the fruit through the palate. Then you get into the savoury notes, and this is where it really gets cool. I say savoury, but there's sweet spice. The tannin is ripe and fine. It's not overbearing. It's there, it's present, but it's super fine. And it intertwines with the spice and the cocoa and the cedar. You get all those different other elements apart from the fruit coming through, and also the pepper, and just super long and just utterly delicious finish. I mean, it's hard not to give this an all but perfect score because it was all but perfect. It's just what you look for in a really good Syrah. And so for me, it's 98 out of 100 and 19.5 out of 20. So good. Such a good wine, and it was very hard to find fault. I mean, I'm only giving it 98 because I find it difficult to give wines higher than that because 98 is such a good score. So that's why it's 98. As far as cellaring goes, this has really started to enter into its own. But don't be afraid to put this in the cellar a lot longer because the fruit is still ever present, it's still ripe, it's plump. So it's got a few years to cellar. And as always, it depends on how you like to drink the wine, whether you cellar it longer or shorter. So if you like it a little bit, you still like the primary fruit, you like the presence and the fruit weight, don't cellar it too long. But if you're happy for that to be stripped back a little bit and be more refined and elegant, cellar it for longer. Okay. As far as food goes, I mean, it cries out for sort of braised beef, roast lamb. If you go down the vegetable route, I mean, delicious roast pumpkin, something with a little bit of smokiness. So you could go like a roast pumpkin with a smoked sort of like a yogurt or labna sort of character, because there's enough acidity just to cut through that, and the smokiness will really interact with the fruit really well. Um, you know, and just play with some spices, Middle Eastern spices, za'atar or things like this really work quite well with this dish, with this wine. So yeah, that's our wine of the week this week. Um, as far as next week is concerned, we are, now let me remember what I've got lined up for next week.